Yo, what's up? Welcome back to another episode of the SWAS NBA Tuesday. We got 4 games on the board. I'm actually recording this before Monday night's action ends. So as I'm recording this, I don't know how I did Monday night yet. My Pistons bet looks great. They're up about 30 points right now. So it looks like I'm gonna get Detroit. Hopefully by the time you're watching this, I had myself another winning night. Things have been going well for me recently. For those of you that aren't in the group, check out how my weekend went. So NBA Friday night, I went 3-1. My only loss was a moneyline sprinkle, 0.25 units on Magic moneyline plus 380. So basically swept the board Friday night. I lost a moneyline sprinkle. On Saturday, I swept the board 4-0, including a Wizards moneyline ticket against the Nuggets at plus 800. So yeah, great weekend of NBA, but check this out. On Sunday, I didn't like any NBA, so I placed 0 NBA bets on Sunday. The only bets I placed, I had the golf bets from earlier in the week. I had 3 golf bets, all 3 of them plus 210. They all hit. All 3 of them. One was a partial cash out, but they all hit. And I also placed 2 bets on the NASCAR race, both on AJ Allmendinger. He didn't win the race, but he finished in the top 10 at plus 650. So the last few days, unbelievable. One of the best weekends I've had betting in a long time. Hopefully that continues. NBA Tuesday night, 4 games. Let's go. I mean, is Cooper Rush worth 2.5 points? I would hope Quinn Ewers put up a decent stat line against Arizona State. If he didn't, we have a real problem.
You can say the same thing about Creighton. Okay, they had the one good game against Kansas at home.
When Toast talks about the kicking market, it's like some earth is flat shit. Andy, true or false, this is going to be a dog walking.
Dog walking. This is my dog walking of the day. I think it's going to be very ugly. Dog walking. I think this is going to be ugly.
Hey, get the sauce. Today's episode is brought to you by SeatGeek, and I want to give them a shout out here. If you're looking for a spot to get the best deal on tickets to some March Madness action, gotta go with SeatGeek here. With over 28 million downloads, SeatGeek is the #1 rated ticketing app. There are over 70,000 events listed on SeatGeek, and not just sports. They've got concerts on there, festivals. If you need tickets to an event, SeatGeek is the spot. I love SeatGeek. I'm a huge SeatGeek guy. I like how each ticket is rated on a 1 to 10 scale. You got to look for the green dots. The green dots means great deal. Red dots mean not as great of a deal. If you want $20 off tickets from SeatGeek, use the code KIRMS, K-I-R-M-S. That's $20 off your first purchase at SeatGeek if you use the promo code KIRMS. And it doesn't have to be right now. You can click the link in the description and download the app, and you'll still get the $20 off later if you click this link right now. Promo code KIRMS. The #1 ticketing app, the best in the business. Why wait? Head on over to SeatGeek, promo code KIRMS. First up, we got the Hawks on the road in Charlotte. These teams have played 3 times this year, and the Hawks have taken all 3, but Charlotte did cover 2 of them. So the Hornets are 2-1 against the spread against this Hawks team. So Charlotte's actually played this Hawks team pretty tough a couple times this year. As far as how these 2 teams are playing recently, both are 5-5 against the number in their last 10 games. So you're pretty much breaking even betting these teams recently. In the last 10 games, the Hawks are 8th offensively, 29th defensively, 2nd in strength of schedule. So with the Hawks, you can at least say they've played a strong schedule recently. Meanwhile, the Hornets are 13th in strength of schedule, so they're all right. But they're 30th offensively, 28th defensively. So efficiency-wise, this Hornets team has been pretty bad as of late. Now, before we get into this matchup, I do have something I like here that points towards an over. Now, we know this Hornets defense is bad. I mean, I guess the offense is probably worse, but the Hornets defense is pretty bad as well. Overs in Atlanta games when they play bad defenses have almost been automatic. This year against bottom 5 defenses, they're 8-2 to the over. Against bottom 10 defenses, they're 16-6 to the over. The reason I didn't adjust my handicap for that is on the other side, Charlotte, when they play these good offensive teams, they've actually kept it under the total. Against good offenses, against top 5 offenses, they're 4-7 to the under. Top 10 offenses, 6-13 to the under. So it really didn't move the needle for me either way. Now, something I like here for the Charlotte side is we know Atlanta's going to get out and run, right? The Hawks love to run in transition. They're 5th in the NBA in transition frequency this year. Charlotte is 21st in defensive efficiency in transition. So the Hawks should have plenty of opportunities to get out in the fast break and score points in transition on this Charlotte defense. Here's the thing. The Hornets have played well in these types of matchups. Against the top 5 teams in transition frequency, Hornets are 7-5 against the number. Against the top 10, 15-9 against the number. So yeah, the Hawks should be able to get out and run and score points on this Hornets defense, but Charlotte's covered in these types of matchups this year. And some more good news for the Hornets is we know this Hawks offense likes to attack the paint. They're actually 1st in paint frequency in the last 10 games. No offense has attacked the paint more frequently than the Hawks. But here's the thing. The Hornets defense does not let their opponents get into the paint. They collapse on the interior. They force you to take threes. Now they're vulnerable to three-point shooting, but the Hawks have not taken a lot of threes this year at all. And Atlanta has not been profitable against these types of defenses this year. Atlanta against defenses that don't allow shots in the paint. Versus the top 5, they're 5-8 against the spread. Against the top 10, they're 8-15 against the spread. So another angle I like there for Charlotte. So as a whole on that side of the court, I kind of like this matchup for the Hornets defensively. Now, as far as the Hornets offense goes, I mean, I really don't know. This is a really bad offense, but the Hawks defense is equally as bad. So I really don't know what to expect here. Injuries on the Atlanta side, we got Trae Young on the report. He's listed as probable. Clint Capella's been ruled out. Karis LeVert has been ruled out. On the Charlotte side, no Bridges in this one. Bridges has been ruled out. Still no Okogie, but that's not new. He's been out for a while. Lonzo Ball on the report. He's listed as probable. As far as betting this game, I took a Charlotte +7. I know we just recently took an L betting Charlotte plus Atlanta. It was, what, a week ago? Less than a week ago? But that game was on the road in Atlanta. Now we're at home at Charlotte. We're getting a similar number. I think I got a +8 or a +8.5 in that one. Getting a +7 at home. I personally have it at 4. Not a big bet. I didn't go heavy on the Hornets here, but I did place a small bet. Hornets +7 next. Brooklyn is on the road in Boston here. Celtics have taken all 3 matchups in this one, but the Nets have played them tough a couple of times. Brooklyn's actually 2-1 against the spread versus Boston this year. They played them down to a 4-point game and a 2-point game. So even though Boston is 3-0 against the Nets this year, you cannot say the Celtics have had 0 problems with this Nets team. That wouldn't be true. The Nets have played them tough. And honestly, that makes complete sense because this Nets team has been much more profitable against good teams than they have against bad teams. If you've been blindly betting Brooklyn against good teams and blindly fading them against bad teams, you are doing quite well this year. Check this out. Nets against good teams. Versus top 10 offenses, they're 15-9-1 against the spread. Against top 10 defenses, they're 16-9 against the spread. Against bottom 10 offenses, 10-14 against the spread. Against bottom 10 defenses, 8-12 against the spread. So no question, the Nets have been much better against the number versus good teams. And another thing I like for Brooklyn here is the turnover battle. The Nets are awful at protecting the basketball. They cannot stop turning it over. They're 29th in turnover rate in the last 10 games. But here's the thing on the other side, Celtics defense doesn't force any turnovers. And on top of that, when we're talking about the Celtics, we know we're talking about an offense that's going to shoot a ton of threes. And I've been saying this for weeks. The weakness of this Brooklyn defense has been protecting the paint. They've actually been profitable against good three-point shooting teams. Check this out. Against the top 5 teams in three-point efficiency, they're 8-4 against the spread. Against the top 10, 15-7-1 against the spread. So they've covered the number at a pretty good rate against these elite three-point shooting teams. Injuries in this one on the Brooklyn side, obviously no Cam Thomas. He's been ruled out for the season. Zaire Williams, Noah Clowney, both on the report. They're listed as probable, though. So as a whole, in terms of the active pieces, the Nets should be in pretty good shape here. On the Boston side, no Jaylen Brown and maybe no Tatum. Jason Tatum listed as questionable as well. As far as betting this game goes, even without Jaylen Brown in the rotation, I still have this one at 20. So, I mean, I guess I would lean towards Boston. But look what happens when I take Jason Tatum out. Here, what does it go down to? It goes down to about, 16? So I would still lean Boston. I can't place the bet, though, because like I said before, the Nets have played this Celtics team tough twice. I think Boston probably covers, but with Tatum questionable. If Tatum plays and you can get a Celtics -13.5, I'd do it, but probably a pass here. Milwaukee's on the road in Golden State. We got a good one here. These teams have met once this year. It was back on February 10th. The game was in Milwaukee, and the Warriors won pretty comfortably here. 125-111 was the final score. It is important to point out, however, Giannis did not play in this game. Neither did Kuminga, but obviously Giannis not being in is something that needs to be mentioned. As far as how these two teams are playing right now, in the last 10 games, the Bucks are 14th offensively, 2nd defensively, 11th in strength of schedule. The Warriors are 7th offensively, 3rd defensively, 28th in strength of schedule. So we do have to mention, if we're talking about recent data like the last 10 games, Milwaukee has played a significantly stronger schedule than Golden State has. But here's the thing. We're talking about the Bucks against a good team, and that's a problem because the Bucks have not been profitable against good teams this year. Against top 10 offenses, they're 8-11-1 against the spread, 6-14 straight up. Against top 10 defenses, they're 5-16 against the spread, 6-15 straight up. Milwaukee has not played well when they've seen good competition. Both the rebounding and turnover battles go to Golden State here. Milwaukee has zero presence on the offensive glass. Now, like we said before, if we're looking at data from the last 10 games, we do have to point out that the Warriors have played a much easier schedule. But even if we use the full season data, I still give the rebounding and turnover edge to Golden State here. But honestly, what concerns me the most here for Milwaukee is the three-point shooting. We know we're talking about Steph Curry and the Golden State Warriors. We know they're going to shoot a lot of threes. They're fourth in three-point frequency in the last 10 games. Now, if you look at the numbers, you'll see Milwaukee's been an elite defensive team against a three-point shot. So you think that's a good thing for the Bucks, right? But here's the problem. Milwaukee's actually been more profitable against teams that don't shoot the three-point shot. Against the top 10 teams in terms of three-point frequency, so against the teams that shoot the most threes, they're 11 and 13 against the spread. Against the bottom 10, so against offenses that don't shoot a lot of threes, 13, 7, and 1 against the spread. Something I forgot to mention earlier, Golden State is on a back-to-back here on the season on 0 days rest. They're 5-6 against the spread, 6-5 straight up. So not that they've been terrible on a back-to-back, but we do need to acknowledge that. As far as injuries in this one, still no Bobby Portis. He's got, I think, 2.5 more weeks left on his suspension. Jericho Sims just recently got hurt. He's not pictured on this graphic, but he's the guy that's been getting the minutes in place of Bobby Portis. So it could be somewhat notable to not have Jericho Sims in the rotation. Other than that, we do have Lillard and Giannis both on the report, but they're both listed as probable. On the Golden State side, we won't have an injury report yet. I'd be a little worried about the status of Steph Curry. He was listed as questionable earlier tonight. He is going to play. Well, actually, he's playing right now. That game started against Denver. So I would imagine there's a good chance Steph Curry sits in this one. Also, Pods might be back, which would be huge. His estimated return date was this game against Milwaukee, so we'll have to wait and see. As far as betting this game, obviously it's tough to say without knowing the status of Steph Curry. I think there's a good chance he sits. But if Steph Curry plays and Pods comes back, I have this one at 9.5. So obviously Golden State at what is it at 3.5 now? 2.5 would be a smash if we knew Steph Curry was going to play. Obviously we don't know that yet. I did place a small bet on the under. I got an under 233.5. If Steph Curry doesn't play, I love this bet. So I'm putting a little risk involved here. If Steph Curry doesn't play, I like the under at 233.5. I did place it, probably a little risky, but it's a small bet on the under. Next, Cleveland is on the road in LA to play the Clips. These two teams have not met this year, but right off the bat, we know we're talking about the Cavs, one of the best offenses in the NBA, and that's going to be bad news for the Clippers. They've struggled with good offenses this entire year. Clippers against top 10 offenses are 11 and 14 against the spread. Against bottom 10 offenses, 14 and 7 against the spread. So right off the bat, we know the Clippers have not been profitable against good offenses. Now, here's where it gets interesting, though, because we know this Cleveland offense is going to be launching a lot of threes. That's what they've done all year. They take a lot of threes. They make a lot of threes. They're one of the most dynamic three-point attacks in the NBA this year, and that plays directly into the weakness of the Clippers' defense. In the last 10 games, the Clippers are 26th in three-point frequency allowed, 24th in efficiency. So the Clippers have struggled against the three-point shot. Cleveland takes a ton of threes. But here's the thing, and this is kind of weird. The Clippers have been much more profitable against teams that take a lot of threes. On the season against offenses in the top 10 of three-point frequency, the Clippers are 15-9 against the spread. Against the bottom 10 in three-point frequency, so teams that don't take a lot of threes, 8-13 against the spread. So even though it looks like a mismatch in favor of the Cavs, it actually plays into what has been more profitable for the Clippers this year. I'm actually more concerned for the Clippers on the other three-point line when we're talking about the Clippers offense, because Cleveland is 6th in defensive efficiency against a three-point shot in the last 10 games. And what we've seen this year is if you're able to take the three-point shot away from the Clippers and force them to come inside and try to make baskets on that elite Cleveland interior defense, they're going to struggle. Clippers this year against the top 10 three-point defenses, 7-16 against the spread. Against the bottom 10 three-point defenses, 13-7 against the spread. So Cleveland playing elite defense on the perimeter right now. Bad news for the Clippers. But here's the thing. The Clippers are at home, and I've been trying to stay away from home-away splits this year. I think they could be a little bit misleading. But with the Clippers, they're so substantial that we can't not mention them. Check this out. Clippers, in their last 14 road games, are 3-11 against the spread with a defensive rating up close to 115. So they're not covering the number. They're playing bad defense. The Clippers in their last 14 home games, 10-4 against the spread with a defensive rating down to 106. So we're talking about a night and day difference here. The Clippers are playing great defense at home and covering the number at a high rate. They're playing terrible defense on the road. Injuries on the Cleveland side, we got Evan Mobley on the report. He's listed as questionable, so we'll have to wait and see there. On the Clippers side, I mean, it's mostly good news on the Clippers side. Obviously, Norman Powell is back. Ben Simmons is back in the rotation as well. So the Clippers are healthier right now than they have been in a while. Clippers are in pretty good shape here. As far as betting this game, I got to say this is a little disappointing. So I capped this game out. I added in my adjustments, plugged in the rotations, had this one at 2.5, and I was like, oh man, this line's going to open up at 5.5, and I'm going to hammer the Clippers, and it's going to be my favorite bet of the day. I was all ready. Line opens up 3. Like, oh man, it reminds me of the Timberwolves Nuggets game. If you guys remember last week, I love the T-Wolves. Then it opened up at 3 on the road in Denver. I thought it was going to open up like 5.5, 6. So kind of the same thing here. I like the matchup for the Clippers. I thought I'd be getting a bigger number. So my pick for this game is the Clippers. I think they win, but I'm not betting it at this number. Maybe if I knew Evan Mobley was going to be out. But as of right now, Clippers or pass. Live show, as always, 4 p.m. Eastern time. We'll go through every single game. I got Modai coming on, and Chris, if you're able to make it, would love to see you in the comments. Hit me up in the Discord if you need me. Remember to bet responsibly. Talk to you later.